who's listening to us.
Yeah. You're used to getting up this early. This is really not rock and roll, is it?
This is late.
Is this late?
This is late.
I had to get up at 6:30 to get here. I have a very slow process of getting ready.
How many cups of tea? We asked him a minute.
I was given a cup of coffee as I came in, which I haven't finished yet.
Right, okay.
How's the tennis on the sporting theme? Do you still play?
I haven't played since I left Portugal. I've been busy. And since I've been here now for a week, and I've got 3 weeks of promotional work to do. I counted up that in the end I'll have done about 90 radio and TV interviews in 2.5 weeks.
Well,
do you think that's pushing it? I didn't do that when I was 18.
Welcome to breakfast anyway. It's lovely to see you here. Thank you very much. And before we talk to you about your new material, we're going to have a little look back every week at some of your greatest hits, most of which are still on DJ's playlist today. Here they are.
Congratulations and jubilations. I want the world to know I'm happy as can be. This rhythm that gets into your heart and soul. Hey, let me tell you, baby, it's called rock and roll. She's just a devil woman with evil on her mind. Beware the devil woman, she's gonna get you from that high. It's so funny why we don't talk anymore. So we're going on a summer holiday to make our dreams come true for me and you. Christmas time, mistletoe and wine, children singing Christian rhyme, with love's on the fire and gifts on the tree.
Well, so Cliff Richard is here with us now. Very warm welcome to
Thank you.
breakfast. Lovely to see you here. So it's the 100th album. It's staggering.
I know, yeah, but when I was recording it in April, I had no idea that was the number. You don't really go, I mean, any artist will tell you, you don't go into a studio and think, oh, this is my 90th or whatever it is.
Yes.
You just do a new bunch of songs. But the office rang me and said, we think it's your 100th. I said, well, you better make sure it's my 100th before I start boasting about it. But
And looking at the album cover there, a little bit of a Grease thing going on there. Is there a little bit that feeling?
Well, I'm pre-Grease.
Yeah.
20 years before Grease. And that's the kind of look we had.
Well, I'm just looking at the sunglasses and the old American car there.
Yeah, well, I mean, rock and roll has always had lots of car songs. You know, Chuck Berry sang about cars. I've sung about cars before now. So I thought, it's obvious the pink Cadillac. That's a pink Buick, though.
Okay,
so it's not quite.
It looks like a lovely car.
It is. It's a fun car.
Tell us about the album. So you've sort of redone lots of different songs, haven't you? How did you choose them?
I have an executive producer who basically paid for the album. Eddie Healy was he's such a rock and roll fanatic. Said, what do you want to do all this jazz stuff and the soul music? He said, you're a rock and roll singer. He sent me a list of songs. I picked out 14 that I liked. In fact, 11 that I liked, and I added 3 that I personally liked. And the record company sent me a list of songs, and theirs was the same as Eddie's. So it's a collaborative affair. And it wasn't too difficult, really, because there's thousands of them. So I thought to myself, if this one does well, I can do a volume 2 or maybe a volume 3. And there's still masses out there. You know. We just chose, I had to do Elvis. It was he was my inspiration. Got to do Chuck Berry. And so we just went through a whole list of people that everybody know.
Yeah, sorry.
Back in the day, you were described as the UK's answer to Elvis. So no pressure then?
Well, there was no pressure because I realised later that, I don't know why they said I was an answer to Elvis. He was never a question. There is no answer to Elvis. He's the prototype, the number one, the first, and everybody, I don't care who they are, whether you're Michael Jackson or me or anybody else, we got everything from the fact that he first gave it attitude and moves and movements. And of course, Michael Jackson can be called the king of moving, there's no doubt about it. He was probably one of the best performers, rock and roll performers ever. But would he have existed in that form? He might have done, actually. But I always think that Elvis got everything going.
And we saw that one of the clips was from Living Doll, which you probably wouldn't, for reasons of being sexist, you probably wouldn't even be able to call it that now, would you? But I noticed you did the kind of slightly snarly. Was that a kind of? Were you edging towards a slightly meaner Cliff Richard?
No,
was there a hint of that there?
I tried to look like Elvis. When I was amateur, And I had one photograph taken at a pub or bar or somewhere that I was singing, and I had a picture of it, and my face was definitely, and I loved it. Anything that made me feel that I was getting close to Elvis made me feel good. And that's why it's difficult to explain to people how it felt to have a career. But I woke up one morning and there was the New Musical Express, one of those musical papers then, and the headline was Elvis and Cliff battle it out in the charts. And I'm thinking, I don't believe this. My name is mentioned in the same sentence as Elvis. So it was that kind of effect on me. So I was trying to be as close to him as I could be. Pretty soon, though, with the help of Jack Good, who did the very first TV show I ever did. I was on the show with Dickie Pride, Marty Wilde, Billy Fury, and he said to me, cut the sideburns off, get rid of the guitar, you look too much like Elvis. So he got me moving to try and find me, and I found a way of performing that wasn't to steal from Elvis, but influenced by it.
And just listening to the album, your voice is still, exactly the same after all these years. How do you do that?
I'm not sure it's exactly the same. I hear myself singing some of the old stuff, and I do sound a little lacking in confidence.
Do you? So you would say better now?
I think my voice, I like my voice. I personally like my voice better now. I can stretch it into different directions. On this album, which is full of 14 classic, iconic rock and roll songs, and one brand new song. When you finish hearing Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good, which is the final rock and roll track, it goes on to One More Sunny Day, which is a brand new song. I sing differently. It's just different. And you have to be able to use your voice in different ways when you're singing rock and roll, because you could still sing ballads as well as the up-tempo stuff, because people make the mistake of thinking that rock and roll is a tempo. It's a whole musical culture that covers everything.
Did I hear the other day that you've done a calendar for many years, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Did I hear the other day that One Direction are the first people to outsell you?
I think they have picked me to the post this time, but my mug is selling better.
Is the Cliff Richard mug is still winning?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, someone has to take over. It's become a pressure now for me after all these years, constantly being #1 with the calendar. And I may well be #1 next year, but I don't know. And I can't go on doing this. That's the only pressure. I've given up trying to think of how can I look different, how can I smile differently. We try to use different locations now.
Why would you bother if it's clearly been working over all these years?
Well, the Young Direction.
They are the Young Direction, aren't
their
they?
total age is probably not my age. And here I am in my 70s, and I'm #2.
Oh, it's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is extraordinary.
Can I ask you one other thing?
It's hard to believe, but I can't believe it.
You get a bit of flack, don't you?
A bit of what?
A bit of flack. People have a dig at you for being, whatever the words people use are, for being cheesy, for being... They do have a go. It's become
they
kind of
do
commonplace,
sometimes.
isn't it?
On the whole, I think I get pretty well treated, but...
Does any of it get to you?
They use this word cool. They'll always say, people say you're not cool. And I said, well, I don't know what cool is. And I find it a derogatory term anyway. If you call somebody cool, it's suggesting that everybody else is not. Whereas, if you think someone's cool, that's okay, but not to wipe out everybody else. So I always say, well, look, to me, the real successes were really cool. And I've had my share of that. So I feel, yeah, I'm cool because I'm still successful after all these years. One Direction still have to compete with me.
Let's have a look at you. This apparently, I think, and we'll talk about it after, it's one of your favourite concerts ever. It's at the Sydney Opera House. You are performing Rip It Up.
Sorry, Cliff's just explaining something. One of the backing dancers.
One of my backing dancers on the left there, Stuart Ward, he's just got this fantastic role. He's playing the lead role in Once, the show Once, on tour in America. So I've lost him. But I do pick goodies, and I never expect to be able to keep them because they're so good, they're bound to be able to do something themselves.
Probably 10 years ago, if you were doing interviews then, people would be saying, surely in 10 years' time, when you're 70-something, you won't be touring, you won't be... And now, sitting here, I can't help but think, surely, in 10 years' time...
it really depends on how... I mean, I've managed to stay fit. I remember listening to Federer talk about his tennis career, and they said, you know, you've been #1 for more weeks or years or whatever it is than anybody else. And they said, what do you put it down to? He said, you know what, I'm really lucky that I never got injured. And in the same way, I often think, I never really got sick. And even now, with every tour that I do, every single year, I have, you know, my doctors are like Dracula. I get all this blood sucked out of me, and they test everything, and it all comes back. My lungs, my heart, my kidney, all seem to be functioning perfectly well.
So what's the secret then? Is it
a bit
a
of good
secret?
fortune, right? And so if I can keep fit, then I can't see, as long as there's somebody to come and see me, you know, we're all getting older.
And those fans that you have, and we spoke to a couple of them here at breakfast, they are incredibly loyal, aren't they?
They are. They've been really... I don't know that it's unique. I'm sure that all of us who have had a career like this have got staunch fans who love you to death. And I've certainly got my share of those. And they've been great because they queue up for things, you know. There was a time at the Albert Hall when they were queuing up for 3 weeks in something like January, February. It was freezing cold. And I got the office to send down some breakfast. We got one of those things to go down, and they cooked them breakfast, fried eggs and bacon and stuff like that. And some of the husbands are pretty good too, because they sometimes take over, and the wives go back and get a shower, wash their hair, do the makeup, and then go back on the queue again. But they're very loyal.
Yeah.
Prince Charles is 65 today.
Yes, I know.
Just a young man, I suppose, to you. Just a young man. But you know him well, don't you? You met him quite a few times over the years.
I've met him a number of times, as I've met a lot of the monarchy. It's unfortunate, though, but you can never really get to know them unless you spend a lot of time with them. It's like any friendship that you have. So I never take the liberty of saying, well, they're good friends of mine. I've met them a lot of times. I really enjoy being in their company, and I think they're very supportive, certainly of the art world. So it's nice to know that we've got a monarchy like that.
Tell us about that moment when you got the knighthood. Was that very special for you?
It was so emotional, and it was very nerve-wracking. And the guy that took us through our paces beforehand said, you've got a stool with a handle. Use the handle. He said, I've seen people fall over. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. He said, you don't speak to the Queen until she speaks to you. So I knelt on it, I got a hold of this thing, and everything went well. I leaned forward, she came with the sword. I stood up, I bent forward, she put the emblem around my neck. And then she said, this has been a long time coming. And I said, oh, when I finished, they played congratulations, and I walked out feeling, what an idiot. She must have been thinking to herself, why didn't we give this to somebody who could at least speak English? I couldn't speak.
And she didn't share, or can you tell us, if any of them has shared with you, any of the royal family, their favourite Cliff Richard song?
No, no, I don't think that. I don't know whether they said it to anybody, really. I remember when Princess Diana was still alive, and every time she went to a concert, they said that band was her favourite band. So I thought, oh, well, this is ridiculous. And I know that she loved rock and roll, though, because I did once do a little ad hoc. She was skiing at the same lodge that I was skiing on in Austria, and she said, oh, I believe you have your guitar, and when you come here, on Friday nights you sing in the bar. I said, yeah, I do. Mike Reed, the DJ, and I take our guitars when we went skiing. And she said, would you sing for the boys? And they were like 11 and 9 or something at the time. And I said, of course, and we're singing Living Doll, Bachelor Boy, and I saw Harry go, and we stopped. And I said, well, anything you'd like. He said, do you know Great Ball?